She threw us a surprise party for our 10th anniversary. Balloons, our closest friends, a slideshow of our whole life together. Then she grabbed the microphone, called her boss up onto the stage, and kissed him in front of everyone we knew. She thought I'd fall apart. She had no idea I already had her replacement, her lawyer, and the truth, all lined up, waiting. If you believe karma always finds its way home, hit subscribe right now because this story's about to get real. My name's Cole. I'm 42. I own a small contracting business. Decks, additions, kitchen remodels, the kind of work where you build something with your hands and it's still standing years later. That mattered to me, building things that last. I thought my marriage was one of those things. My wife's name's Brianna. 10 years married, 12 together if you count the dating years. We met in community college, both broke, both hungry for something bigger. I always admired that about her. She wanted more and she went and got it. Regional sales director now. Big title, bigger paycheck than mine most years. I was proud of her. I want you to know that. Whatever comes next, I was proud of her. About a year ago, the company brought in a new VP to oversee her division. Guy named Foster. Tall, expensive haircut, the kind of confidence that comes from never being told no. Brianna mentioned him constantly. Foster wants to restructure the whole territory. Foster thinks I'm ready for VP. Foster. I didn't think much of it at first. Maybe I should have. But you don't get suspicious of every name your spouse mentions. That's not a marriage, that's a prison. Then the trips started. Regional conferences. 2, sometimes 3 a month. She'd come home a little distant, phone locked with a new passcode she never used to have. I noticed. I always noticed. I just didn't want to be the guy who turns a marriage into an interrogation. About 2 months before our anniversary, Brianna started acting strange in a different way. Sweet, overly sweet, bringing home my favorite takeouts, planning date nights, telling me how much she loved me, out of nowhere, mid-sentence, like she was trying to convince herself as much as me. I remember thinking something's wrong here. Not something's wrong, she's cheating wrong, just off, like she was preparing for something. Turns out, she was. I need to tell you something now so the rest of this makes sense. Everything that happens at that party, I already knew about before it happened. I want you to sit with that because nothing you're about to see was an accident on my end. 6 weeks before our anniversary, I was fixing a leak under our bathroom sink, and Brianna's laptop was open on the counter, still logged in to her work email from the night before. I wasn't looking for anything, but a calendar notification popped up. Dinner with Foster, discuss the future, and something in my gut just dropped. I called my brother-in-law, Reggie, my sister's husband. He does corporate investigations for a living. I trust him with anything. I told him what I saw. He said, "You want me to look, or you want to keep pretending you didn't see that?" I told him to look. He kept it simple, and honestly, that's what made it so damning. Our family cloud plan still auto-backed up Brianna's work calendar. It had for years. Nothing hacked, nothing hidden, just old settings neither of us ever changed. That calendar showed private meetings marked F, scheduled during the exact weeks she told me she was away for the team. Reggie cross-checked those dates against her expense reimbursements, which she used to complain about openly at dinner. Hotel charges on nights when there was no listed conference anywhere near those cities. That was enough. I didn't need more than that. And honestly, I didn't want more than that. I sat in my truck in our driveway for almost an hour that night, just breathing. 10 years. A house we built together, literally with my own hands, and she'd been planning to walk into someone else's life without ever telling me mine was ending. I want to be honest with you about something. My first instinct wasn't revenge, it was grief. I mourned that marriage before I ever did anything about it. But grief has a way of turning into clarity if you let it sit long enough. So I made a decision. I wasn't going to confront her in our kitchen where she controlled the story. I was going to let her show everyone exactly who she was, and I was going to be ready when she did. I met with a divorce attorney, a woman named Naomi, sharp, no patience for wasted time. I showed her what Reggie had found, calendar entries, hotel dates, nothing pulled from a locked device, nothing illegal. Naomi looked through it and said, this happened almost entirely during company travel with her direct supervisor. That's not just personal for her, that's a liability for the company too. That detail mattered more than I understood at the time. I quietly protected our joint accounts, nothing dishonest, just careful, exactly the way Naomi told me to. I drafted divorce paperwork. I prepared a factual, documented complaint for Brianna's HR department, not to destroy her, just to make sure the truth had somewhere official to land. I had every piece in place. All I needed now was a moment, and Brianna, without knowing it, was about to hand me one.
2 weeks before our actual anniversary, she told me she wanted to throw a surprise party. For us, she said, to celebrate 10 years. She invited our friends, my sister and Reggie, her coworkers, even Foster, since he's basically part of the team now, she said, smiling like that sentence didn't mean what it meant. I said yes to the party. Of course I did. The night came. Our backyard was strung with lights, a rented arch with flowers, 40 or 50 people milling around with drinks in their hands. Brianna looked radiant, genuinely happy, laughing with our friends, and for one small, foolish moment, some old part of me wanted to believe none of it was real, that Reggie had made a mistake, that I was about to make a fool of myself for doubting her. Then she asked everyone to gather near the small stage they'd set up for the slideshow. She took the microphone, tapped it twice, smiled out at the crowd. 10 years, she said, voice a little shaky. I wanted tonight to be about celebrating that, but I think tonight should be about honesty too. The yard went quiet. Cole, she said, looking right at me. I've fallen in love with someone else. She turned, reached out her hand, and Foster stepped up onto that little stage beside her. She leaned in and kissed him, right there, in front of my sister, in front of our friends, in front of everyone who'd watched us build a life for 10 years. Gasps. Someone dropped a glass. My sister's hand flew to her mouth. Reggie looked at me, and I saw it in his eyes. He was waiting to see what I'd do, because he was the only other person in that yard who already knew. I want you to understand something. She expected me to break, right there, in front of everyone who loved us. She wanted an audience for that kiss, the same way you'd want an audience for a victory lap. Instead, I smiled. I actually smiled, and I walked toward that little stage, slow, calm, every eye on me. Brianna's confident expression flickered, just slightly, like she sensed the ground shifting under her heels. I took the microphone from her hand, gently, and I looked out at our friends. Well, since we're being honest tonight, I turned to Foster. You should probably check your email in the morning. Your company's ethics board will likely have some questions about your travel expenses over the last year. His smile disappeared. I turned to Brianna. And you should probably call a lawyer. I already have. Her name's Naomi. She's very good. I set the microphone down, and I walked back into my own house, alone, while the yard erupted behind me into confusion in whispers. I sat at my kitchen table that night, listening to cars pull out of the driveway one by one, and I let myself feel it, all of it. 10 years gone in one kiss on a rented stage. But underneath the grief, there was something steady, because unlike Brianna, I wasn't stepping off a cliff. I'd built a landing months ago. Monday morning, I filed the HR complaint. Factual, documented, no exaggeration, just the calendar pattern and the travel records lined up side by side. By Wednesday, Foster was placed on administrative leave while the company looked into it. It didn't take long because the evidence wasn't hearsay, it was his own expense reports, dates that didn't match a single real client meeting. By the following month, he was let go, for cause, not because of the affair itself. Companies don't fire people over their personal lives, but because he'd used a corporate travel account to fund it. No severance. His unvested stock options were gone too. Here's the part that isn't dramatic, it's just how hiring works. When Foster started interviewing elsewhere, any serious company runs a background check, which includes calling his old HR department to confirm employment. Legally, they can only confirm dates and whether he's eligible for rehire, but that box, not eligible for rehire, is real. Reggie told me, months later, that Foster made it through a few rounds somewhere new, and then the offer just stopped. No dramatic call, no blacklist, just silence, the way it goes when a background check turns up a flag nobody wants to explain. That's not karma reaching across an industry, that's just the truth sitting in a filing cabinet with his name on it. Brianna, I had served with divorce papers the following week, at her office. I debated that a long time, honestly. Part of me wanted to do it quietly, at home, because some part of me still didn't want to hurt her more than she'd already hurt herself. But Naomi reminded me it needed to happen during business hours for the paperwork to be handled properly, and her office was simply where she was that day. I want to be honest about that. It wasn't a calculated stage the way the party was. It just landed where it landed. She showed up at the house that night, mascara running, voice cracking. "You destroyed my career," she said. I didn't raise my voice back. I said quietly, "I didn't destroy anything, Brianna. I just stopped covering for what you'd already started." She asked me through tears if I'd told her parents. I told her the truth. Yes, but only after they'd already started asking me why the wedding photos had come down from my sister's mantle. I didn't want to lie to two people who'd been kind to me for a decade. That's not spite. That's just not wanting to carry a secret that wasn't mine to keep anymore. 5 months passed.
I sold the house, actually, too. Too many memories in those walls I built with my own hands. And I bought a smaller place across town, just for me. I started therapy, real sessions, not just venting to Reggie over beers, though that helped too. I remember the first weekend in the new place, unpacking boxes alone and finding an old photo of us before we were even married. I sat on the floor for a minute, just looking at it. Then I laughed, quietly, to myself in an empty room. Not because it was funny, because I realized I wasn't sad anymore looking at it. I was just looking at a photo of two people who don't exist anymore. I taped it inside a box labeled old stuff and kept unpacking the new ones. A few months after that, my sister invited me to her daughter's birthday party. I almost didn't go, still felt a little raw showing up places without Brianna beside me. But I went, and somewhere between the cake and the backyard games, I caught myself laughing, really laughing, at something dumb my niece said. My sister looked over at me from across the yard and just smiled, the kind of smile that says, "There he is." I hadn't realized how long it had been since someone looked at me like that. I started seeing someone new not long after, slowly, carefully, no rush this time. We were just cooking dinner one night, nothing special, and I caught myself fully present,
not comparing, not bracing for something to go wrong, just there. That's when I knew I'd actually healed. Not because the pain was gone completely, because I could stand in a kitchen again and just feel okay. Then, one evening, Brianna called. Her voice was smaller than I'd ever heard her. She said she'd made the biggest mistake of her life. She asked if there was any chance we could sit down and talk about starting over. I sat with that question longer than I expected to. "No," I said, calm, not angry anymore, just certain. "You didn't just break trust, Brianna. You showed me exactly what I was worth to you in front of everyone we knew, and in doing that, you accidentally taught me I could rebuild without you, better than before." I hung up the phone, and for the first time since that night in the backyard, I felt light. I think about that party sometimes. The lights, the microphone, the kiss she thought would break me, and I realize now, it didn't break me, it set me free. Karma didn't need my help finding her, it just needed a little patience and a man who finally stopped waiting to be hurt and started building something better instead. If this story hit home for you, share it with someone who needs to hear it today, and subscribe for more stories just like Cole's.